Well, hey everybody, John Ritlin here, and this is Rapid Fire episode 85, WrestleMania criticism slash fallout, and some other stuff, especially from WrestleMania weekend, like TakeOver and G1 Supercard. And I'm going to give my opinions on a few of these things, but the main thing I'm going to focus on here in the beginning is people being really fucking stupid when it comes to the women main eventing WrestleMania 35. Now, I'm recording this before the Raw after Mania, in case you guys are wondering why you might see this suddenly drop just before, just before that show starts. And I encourage you guys to check out the WrestleMania 35 review, G1 Supercard review, and the TakeOver New York / New Jersey one that myself and the Durbinator did. There'll be playlists at the end of this video at some point, or just check the YouTube feed. But anyway, the reason I'm doing this topic first is it has to do with people being super critical of the women main eventing WrestleMania. Now, I'm going to say right off the bat that if there are people that wanted Kofi and Bryan to main event because they bought into that story more, if the story between Becky, Charlotte, and Ronda did not grab you, if the match did not grab you, if you were into it but maybe you didn't feel it was WrestleMania main event worthy, but you felt Kofi Bryan was, or if you felt vice versa and you felt the women were, worthy of the main event, and Kofi Bryan is where it should have been. However you feel, that's fine. If you had the criticism that Kofi Bryan was a better built story, you latched onto it more, you felt more of an emotional pull, that's fine. People saying that I have no issue with because I totally get that. It would have been very interesting to see Kofi versus Bryan at WrestleMania, or in the WrestleMania main event. Would have been quite the rocket on Kofi right there. But I'll tell you why it's a good idea why they put the women in the main event. And the only reason they put him there is because of Ronda Rousey. Now, I'm not saying that Charlotte and Becky Lynch haven't worked their asses off for a number of years. As critical as I have been of Charlotte, mainly for some of her promos and whatever, maybe gained a lot of opportunities, she did a really good goddamn job in this. She bumped like crazy, that Spanish Fly, a whole bunch of shit. I'm not going to recap the entire match because I did that in the WrestleMania 35 review. Becky did well. Ronda apparently suffered a broken hand, possibly. If she did, credit to her for powering through, at least as an athlete. May not necessarily like her as a person, but good God, that is some legit toughness. Now, were there botches? Yes, you're going to have botches in any fucking goddamn match. I'm not saying that this might not put a little bit of a damper on Vince wanting to put the women in the main event again, but this got a lot of attention. Yes, Ronda Rousey's drawing power and the fact she brought more casual fans in, that kind of stuff helped. Becky and Charlotte carried the load as well. Charlotte maybe more so. I gotta really put Charlotte over there. She did a good goddamn job. But the match aside, let's just take a look at the fact, okay, if you felt that Kofi Bryan should have been in the main event because you were more invested in the storyline, that's fine. That's totally fine. I got nothing against you guys for that. Absolutely nothing. As a fellow wrestling fan, I totally respect that opinion. What I don't fucking respect are the, constant barrage of morons. And people it's just too hard to remember all the goddamn usernames, and I wasn't going to commit into memory because they're just so shitty, and they're such, small-dicked people, small dick men, probably haven't gotten laid in a goddamn while, probably have to pay for it. They're really, really soulless little fucks is what they are. But the ones that are saying women shouldn't main event of WrestleMania, the women's tag team titles was a fucking joke. The women shouldn't be competing there. The women should be just in the Battle Royal. They were even shitting on the Battle Royal. Now, let me say this much about the Battle Royal. There was apparently, and I got this info from a lot of people that were in the stadium. I mean, probably depending on the section because it's a big old stadium, 80,000 something people. Sonya and Sarah got cheered quite a bit near the end. I mean, and Asuka got cheered. There were a good amount of women that got cheered. There were women of varying, talent levels, varying degrees of talent in there. Still don't know what Lana was doing there, but at least she's trying. All those women did try. Dana had a good showing. The Riot Squad working, the numbers advantage and that kind of stuff. Once it got down to Asuka, Sonya, and Sarah, they got the people. And then, once it got down to Sonya and Sarah, they got the people. And then Sarah suddenly won. But then Sarah didn't win, and then Carmella won. And let me just say this. I get why Carmella won. I don't like it. I don't think Carmella necessarily was deserving talent level-wise, even though I don't think it's going to lead to much. But it is what it is. They could have done worse. I didn't like it. I would have rather had Asuka or Sonya. Really would have rather had Sonya, honestly. Or Sarah. Sarah, you want to have somebody possibly break off on the Riot Squad at some point. Not saying they should break up the Riot Squad. I mean, granted, all they do is lose 6-woman tag matches or lose them on the way to the ring for a 6-woman tag. It's a little bit of a running joke I have with a few people because they keep losing a lot. But I digress. The people that are saying, oh, women don't deserve to be in the main event because they're women, fuck you. Fuck you, fucking assholes. Seriously. Nothing wrong, again, with wanting the women, with wanting a good storyline to head into the main event and have the women be, have the women have the best storyline and the best build and that kind of stuff, and that match to come off perfectly. No match is going to come off perfectly. There's going to be botches. There's going to be all that stuff. Was the finish botched and everything? Was there a lot? Were there, some screw-ups with that? Sure. Are they probably going to address this on Raw? Probably. We'll see what the fuck happens. But those saying that it's just because they're women that they shouldn't be in the main event, why the fuck is it always about gender? I mean, seriously, and the only reason I'm touching on this is because so many people made it about it. I don't fucking get. I would rather have a historic, historic first ever women, match at Mania or main event be like the best possible match. The thing is, any botches, any whatever aside, this was a damn good hard-hitting match. All the women worked really goddamn hard. Charlotte, again, worked really fucking hard. Gotta put her over there. Becky, my goodness, finally winning. That was great stuff. Ronda has done very, very well in the 1 year she's been competitive in the ring. Gotta give that credit to all the women. And that's just the thing that bugs me, though. Why the fuck is it such a bad thing for all these freaking spineless, dickless wonders to take issue with women getting the spotlight? Is it really going to matter all that goddamn much? Is it going to, offend you? Is it going to burst your fragile little bubble? Is that really what it's going to do just because the women are there? Once again, you like Kofi versus Brian Moore won that main event? Fine. You guys are totally cool. You fans are fine. It's the spineless wonders that amaze me. And let's get to the tag team. Let's get to the tag team match. Again, fuck you guys if you got a problem with the women main eventing just because they're women. You didn't like the match? Okay. If you didn't like the match because it didn't grab you, it didn't do all this stuff, yada, 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 cool. Don't make it about gender because guess what? All those women could kick my ass easily. I mean, not that it would be hard to kick my ass, because I don't get in fights. But, fuck, everybody in the women's tag team, match could easily kick my ass. So let's go to that. There were people saying that Beth seemed sloppy, or Beth, why the fuck was Beth back in the ring? We didn't want Beth back in the ring. She's washed up. She's this, she's that. If I remember right, she retired at 31-32. And it was in 2012. So she's near 40. Okay. She doesn't look like she's missed a fucking beat. Now, yeah, she has made sporadic appearances since. I mean, her and Edge had a kid or two. I think they've had 2 kids. But regardless, she got back in the ring and didn't have to. Beth did not look like she missed a goddamn step. She did really goddamn well. It's like she never fucking retired. Her timing was crisp. She did the glam slam. That was cool stuff. Like the glam slam off the top. Yes, I admit right now the women's tag team title match was not great. A 4-way is hard to pull off. A 3-way is hard to pull off. Stop being dirty-minded. Only I can be dirty-minded on my show. But the whole point is, yes, the women worked hard. Okay, bad spots aside, whatever. Beth should not get any criticism for how she was. If she went out there and totally just tripped over her own feet and did this kind of stuff, Beth would not have gotten back out there. She's enough of a pro. She wouldn't have wanted to embarrass herself, embarrass Natty, or embarrass her fans. Could things have gone wrong? Sure they fucking could have gone wrong, but they didn't. Not a perfect match. It was what it was. But now I want to get to people that are criticizing the fact that the Iconics won. You should have seen my reaction. I almost wish I would have fucking recorded my reaction because I was just shocked. And I wasn't shocked like, holy crap, I can't believe the Iconics won. Like, I have anything against the Iconics. If anything, I fucking love the Iconics and picked them and wanted them to fucking win. I just didn't think Vince or whoever was in charge, of saying who's going to win would actually have given it to the Iconics. And they won. And the genuine emotion, and people were like, oh, well, why are they crying or whatever? It's, it's predetermined, this kind of stuff. There are people in movies that win awards, and you could argue that maybe the Oscars are scripted and this kind of stuff, but they give a performance, they play somebody else, and then they, win an award for it. Essentially, pretty much a wrestling championship. Yes, wrestling is predetermined, scripted, that kind of stuff, whatever. The injuries, unfortunately, do happen and are legit, unless it's a storyline injury, of course. But people get hurt. It ain't ballet. But it meant a lot to Billy and Peyton. And whether I'm their biggest fan or not, I have grown fond of their act. Their gimmick, the fact they are legit best friends. It was fucking great to see the genuine emotion they had. And I just can't believe there are people that are going to dump on that. Now, there are people that are going to dump on shit. I dump on shit all the time. That's what I fucking do. I dump on shit because I criticize everybody. I criticize myself most of all. I just have a whole lot of fun with wrestling, and if I just happen to throw in some jokes, pepper some jokes, it's fine. But I am an equal opportunity offender. If I'm going to make jokes about, the women, I'm going to make just as many jokes about the men, if not more. I will make it a, sometimes 60-40 split, but I will leave no stone unturned when it comes to jokes. But I had to give credit to all the women here. Sure, okay, you could argue, oh, the women took over WrestleMania. The women were in 3 motherfucking matches. I know math is really hard for you guys to do, but that was what? Less than 20%? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, that's about less than 20%. Pretty close to it, that kind of stuff. Why in the world was it so wrong for the women to have 3 matches when half the men's matches weren't that fucking good? And not because they're men, but because of the build or because of the storyline. Kofi versus Bryan likely was the match of the night. The women, getting in the main event, Ronda, Charlotte, and Becky, getting there, getting to arrive, being on that big stage. They got the people. They did well. Look, the crowd was exhausted. People were saying, here's why the crowd was exhausted. It was a 7.5-hour motherfucking show. That's really long. They got to either make it a 2-day event or they got to cut it down to 6 hours. Just cut it down to 6 hours. Leave some people off the card as hard as it is to say that's something that they really have to fucking do. And it feels so sorry. I heard so many horror stories of people trying to leave MetLife Stadium and being unable to due to transit issues. Because apparently the transit community did not plan these things very well. So yeah, that was pretty bad. But those criticizing the women because they're women in the matches, fuck you guys. You ain't fucking real wrestling fans. You aren't. You probably ain't fucking anybody with how spineless and dickless you are. My God, guys. Grow the fuck up and deal. Women can be in wrestling. It's nothing new. They should be allowed to wrestle. Or, can I understand if people don't want to see intergender wrestling? Okay. I'm 50-50 on that. In some instances, I don't mind. Am I going to say that women couldn't kick guys' asses? Who am I to say that? I don't know how legit tough anybody is. Which, apparently, that's what got Eli Drake canned. So, good job there, I guess. But yeah, WrestleMania 35. All that shit, the people dumping on the women because they're women. That's fucking bullshit. But again, those saying Kofi, Bryan are... Kofi Bryan should have been in the main event because they bought into the story more. Fine. You guys are cool. Got no issue. Whether I agree or not, I can see both sides of that argument. And that's fine. I was talking to somebody, I don't remember their name. I apologize. I believe they had either Nikki or Brie Bella in their profile picture. They were cool, had a nice little quick chat with them. They were very respectful. Thank you very much. If you happen to be watching this, by the way. But now I'm going to touch on one other aspect of WrestleMania 35, where I noticed something. Roman Reigns, one, got a whole bunch of pyro. I mean, like all the goddamn pyro. Good God, it was a lot of pyro. Good to see pyro back in WWE, but he got booed a lot during his entrance, and a lot during his match. Now, I'm not saying he didn't get some cheers, because he's going to get some cheers. He was getting some cheers even when people were booing him heavily. I am glad that Roman Reigns recovered from his bout with leukemia, and he is back, and he's able to be back in the ring and entertain the fans he has. He does have a lot of fans, whether I or others like it or not. It's fans of the character. And you can be a fan of the man and not a fan of the character. That's totally fine. And by the way, if you think that Roman Reigns' leukemia was fake, you're a fucking moron. You're a fucking idiot. And I hate you. Just so you know, I hate you and everybody else that has had to deal with somebody that has had cancer, that has actually seen people suffer. We hate you, and you're a fucking brainless, lobotomized, stupid fuck. So, Roman Reigns, they get booed quite a bit and they turn the mics down. Didn't necessarily agree with that. Also, the match didn't help. I mean, Reigns had beat Drew. I didn't agree with that. I picked Roman because I knew he'd win, but Drew losing, it was a very pedestrian match. I mean, Drew got a hell of an entrance with, all the guys in kilts, and I forget what it was. I think it was police or something like that. Police marching band. I don't remember the exact name. Apologies. Leave in the comments if you know who they were. But it was a cool entrance. The problem is then Drew lost. Was what it was. But turning down the mics, embrace it. If people are booing him, lean into it. Lean into it and just have that happen. And if people cheer him, great. If they boo him, great. If they're booing the character but they love the man himself, fine. Fuck's sake, people. Just, goddamn, WWE, stop muting the mics. It didn't work at 32. It didn't work at 33. It didn't work at 34. You're not going to get people to shut up if they don't like the character. But that doesn't mean that Reigns is a bad guy. It is not his fault. He's interesting to some. He's not interesting to others. I just don't like the muting of the mics. For anybody. Reigns or otherwise. So, now I'm going to touch on, and you're going to notice a shirt back here. I'm first going to touch on, an idiot at the Hall of Fame, and I'm going to touch on some other idiotic things that happened at G1 Supercard. And you'll forgive me if I maybe leave the Mania stuff off for now. I will say that if I had to rank the shows, it would be TakeOver, Mania, and G1 are like, it's like 1A and 1C. Because I think every one of those shows did a lot of things well, even if they didn't do everything well. And you're not going to have that many shows do everything well. But let's talk about the Hall of Fame. Let's talk about that jackoff that attacked Bret Hart. One, I don't really need to say much more except I hope that guy was beat to shit. And I mean by everybody. I hope everybody got a shot in on him. And that he was wasted. And I mean wasted in the Grand Theft Auto sense. And yeah, I actually know what that means. Even though I never really cared for the Grand Theft Auto games because I couldn't really get into them. But I totally get why they sell good. That's going to give me some hate in the comments. But Bret Hart, while he's talking about family. He's talking about family. Extended or otherwise. This fucking idiot. That apparently is one of those jackasses that didn't think that Vince McMahon, was stupid for putting the women in the main event. But apparently he's an MMA fighter. And apparently not a very good one because, yeah, he tackled a 60-year-old guy. And then Dash Wilder, who deserves a fucking bonus, like a $100,000 bonus at least. And Travis Brown, I give Travis Brown a lot of goddamn shit for what he's done outside of MMA. Woman being all that. Alleged or not. But I give him credit for jumping in right away to say Bret. Good on him. There are so many others that did. It depends on the video, that kind of stuff. I did not watch Hall of Fame. I was watching the G1 Supercard. I saw it happen as people were sending me videos. People were like, well, hey, check this shit out. And I go, they attacked Bret Hart. It's a good thing I wasn't there. Because I would have said, oh, Bret's one of my favorite of all time. Give me a friggin' lead pipe. I know that threatening that kind of stuff is bad. But that's a 60-year-old guy. However you fucking feel about Bret, he didn't deserve that, especially at the Hall of Fame. Now, I will say, setting it up and having it in the ring probably wasn't the best idea. Probably wasn't. But whatever, they tried something different. Thankfully, Bret's okay. Hopefully this guy is banned from all wrestling events. I mean, not just WWE, all wrestling events. And whatever the fuck's wrong with the guy, fuck that guy. Seriously, that's fucking goddamn rotten. Goddamn stupid. The guy fucking deserved to have his ass beat. And I'm glad it was beat. So I'm happy Bret's okay. I'm so sorry Bret had to deal with that. Natty had to deal with that. And that's the last time I'm going to discuss anything about him. I'm happy that Bret was able to induct. I mean, it was Bret going in also. But that Jim Neidhart was able to induct. I'm going to talk about some of the positives about the Hall of Fame. I'm happy they were able to go in. Harlem Heat. Fucking tremendous goddamn tag team. So vastly underappreciated by some of today's fans. Yeah, because some of today's fans may not be familiar with them. But the tag team of the 90s. They were one of probably about 3 tag teams of the 90s. You can rank the Steiners up there. The fuck else could you rank up there? Steiners and Harlem Heat. Let's just go with those 2. Because the Road Warriors are still around, but then they bounced around a whole bunch. But anyway, Williams and Gordy. But then we'd include Japan, and then it would take a while. But anyway, Harlem Heat, Steiners, those are the 2 teams of the 90s, my opinion. Harlem Heat deserved to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Everybody else, it's a wash. It is what it is. Everybody else got their opinions, like on DX, Torrie Wilson. Honky and Brutus shouldn't have been in. I get why they're in, but I didn't necessarily care for that. But trying to be positive about it, I'm happy that Brett was able to honor Jim. They were able to be honored. Natty was able to be there to, honor her dad. I don't get why I saw people upset about Natty honoring her dad. I really don't get that. And I mean, it wasn't even anybody that I follow. It was just stuff that I would get sent. People say, well, check this shit out. Well, why the fuck are people hammering if Natty wants to honor her father? I don't get it. I love Natty. She should be able to honor her goddamn father. Other than Tyson Kidd and Davey Boy Smith Jr., who the fuck else were you going to get? They could have possibly done any of the inductions. I mean, the Killer Bees. I mean, no offense against the Killer Bees, but I don't know if anybody would remember them. I mean, or at least remember them like, feuding with the Hart Foundation, because it wasn't much of a feud. The point is, finishing up on this thing about the Hall of Fame, and I'm going to touch on one more thing and I'm going to go. The Hall of Fame need to just go to a smaller venue and not have any fans. I know not just because of one guy, we shouldn't just ruin it for everybody else. The bottom line is a lot of the Hall of Fame crowds have been fucking disrespectful. Now, by and large, actually, a lot of them have been pretty cool. But it's like, the people, and it was a very vocal minority, but it was Connor the Crusher. I never remember the kid's last name, McCullen, the kid that died of brain cancer. That poor goddamn kid in that speech by his dad and his little brother saying, I love you, Connor, and goddamn it, I'm going to tear up again if I'm not careful. Poor kid. Poor goddamn kid. Poor kid and poor little brother. Whole point is, there were people wutting the dad. It's a good thing that those fans were up in the upper bowl and not among the wrestlers, because that probably would have not ended too well. The crowds at Hall of Fame aren't necessary. This is a night for the people, the men, the women, production staff, the wrestlers, whoever, to just enjoy and be who they are and be among their peers and all that shit. So I hate to say it, but they might want to start taking the Hall of Fame away from the fans. Broadcast on the network, that kind of stuff. One, you don't have to rent out such a big goddamn venue. Yes, it's a way to earn money. WWE is printing goddamn money at this point. To me, now with this, it's a bit of a liability to the wrestlers. Security did not do their goddamn job. But again, I'm glad Brett's okay. Speaking of security not doing their goddamn job, but this was a work. Oh boy. Ring of Honor in New Japan had G1 Supercard. Okay, whatever. It is what. I liked the show. There were some issues with it. Yes, forgive me, I had a chat with somebody, I don't remember who mentioned that some of Ring of Honor's top stars were injured, and I'm sure they were. I don't recall enough of the roster, but I know that they had enough talent on there. It was supposed to be a co-branded thing. It was supposed to be the big arrival on a big, big stage, even though Ring of Honor had been around for a while. So in New Japan, their resurgence is more new, even though Sinclair's been sinking money in the Ring of Honor. But, okay. So it was the Guerrillas of Destiny, PCO, Brody King, GOD versus Brody King, PCO, versus the Briscoes, versus Evil and Sonata, IWGP, and Ring of Honor tag titles, winner takes all. Okay. Guerrillas of Destiny win. And then all of a sudden the camera cuts away and this kind of stuff and what the fuck's going on. Well, apparently, people jumped the barricade. It's Enzo and Cass. And I think it was Bully Ray, and I think it was both the Briscoes or one of the Briscoes and that kind of stuff. But it's like, they were beating the shit out of Enzo in a work environment or whatever. It was a work. And the reason it was a work is because security didn't do anything, like tackle him immediately to the ground, this kind of stuff. And Ring of Honor cut it away like it was a shoot. And shout out to Derb, because he pointed this out. He said he said Ring of Honor knew what to do. they let social media be the one to broadcast it. Now, the crowd was chanting, "Fuck you, Enzo," like a good portion of them were. This much I'll just say about Enzo. Assault aside, if you did it, you didn't do it, okay. Guy still has made an idiot out of himself numerous times. If Ring of Honor has officially signed Big Cass, or Cass and Enzo, or Colin Cassidy and Enzo, and whatever the hell he's going to go by, Zoe maybe. I mean, I'm not exactly sure since they're probably trademarks. I'm not really sure what they could go by on a wrestling show. That's really bad because I get wanting to bring in different people. I do. Ring of Honor needs to find a way to spice things up. They need to find a way to do a whole bunch of stuff. This ain't it. This ain't it, Chief. As, white as I can possibly be. This is a bad idea. They need to bolster their tag division. They need to add some spice, create a buzz. This ain't it. There is no reason to bring these two guys in. I know that there are plenty of people signed up by AEW, that maybe don't want to come to Ring of Honor, that kind of stuff. They could do better than this. Because this is making them seem very second or even third rate. I'm not saying that people don't deserve a chance. I'm glad that Cass recovered from his seizure. That was really scary, and I'm super glad that he recovered. Even though I've had my shit that I've said about him, I'm glad that he's better. Same with Enzo. I just don't think that it's a good idea to sign them. I just don't fucking think it is. But speaking of signing and seeming second or third rate, it was Kelly Klein and Mayu Iwatani. Okay, Women of Honor Championship. Mayu was champion, and Kelly Klein beat her. Won the title back. Okay. Then all of a sudden, and Mandy Leon, who I hadn't seen much of as far as work, she looks great, and I'm sure can wrestle. I mean, I haven't really seen her wrestle. Somebody tell me in the comments if she has, or she is good at wrestling. Send a link to a match. I will make sure to check that out. So I'm not able to watch enough Ring of Honor to really keep up, even though I keep up as best I can. But anyway, so Mandy Leon's on commentary. Well, all of a sudden, two people show up. It's music hits and whatever. It's Angelina Love and Velvet Sky, a.k.a. the beautiful people from Impact. All the way back in 2008. Well, 2008 to whatever, and then off and on, that kind of stuff. Because, people would leave and this kind of stuff, and they'd add members like Madison Rayne, or they had Lacey Von Erich. I know that, said about equality, and women needing a chance to be in wrestling, but there are some people in general that shouldn't have. And Lacey was one of them. But they're bringing Angelina Love and Velvet Sky in. And I don't know if it's a full-time deal or just temporary or for a bit, but I guess them along with Mandy, they're called Allure. I know that signing women must be difficult as Ring of Honor is trying to get their women's division more stacked. Neil Dashwood, the former Emma from WWE, left. So they have a hole there. Angelina is somebody... these women aren't exactly young up-and-comers. They've been around for a number of years. Using name value isn't a bad thing. But these two? That's who you're going to use? Velvet was never really able to work all that much. Injuries or whatever. Angelina, her best years are behind her. Now, if this ends up being a short-term thing and that's it, okay. I am all about giving women chances, doing some great things, and them being able to, add a spark. But you really shouldn't take the cast-offs from Impact. Because Impact's been trying to do some rebranding and everything, and whether I like their commentary team or not, they've been trying to do some good shit and trying to do some different shit. I haven't necessarily liked everything they've done, but they tried to rebrand. Ring of Honor now is a country mile. This show, it showed that New Japan is a country mile plus ahead of Ring of Honor currently. Ring of Honor is owned by Sinclair Broadcasting. They have some good talent. Jeff Cobb, Bandito, Jay Lethal, Matt Taven, the current champion. Mari Skrull, though he may be leaving for AEW soon, possibly. They do have Brody King, PCO, even though PCO is 50-51. Brody King's a really good talent. They have some good talent there. But I'm sorry that if you're going to rely on Angelina Love and Velvet Sky to help your women's division, no, that's just not a good idea. That's just not a good idea. I know I'm finishing up on that after praising the women. Like, it's not because they're women. It's because I never care for them as workers. I just don't think they're that good. The Mean Girls act was pretty goddamn over. But this just ain't it. I hope Ring of Honor can turn things around. This wasn't the best showing for them. New Japan wiped the fucking floor with them. G1 Supercard had its issues, but overall I liked the show. Now, that being said, I'm going to finish off with that, so let me know in the comments what you guys think. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I will see you soon.